So think about law of attraction's response to that very large vibrational offering. And as a result of law of attraction responding to this request, there is a vortex of creation, a vortex of attraction, where all things necessary to give you the fulfilled, manifested version of what you've asked for, all things necessary, all cooperative components are drawn to this vibrational vortex. If you could see it and know it as we do, you would never again worry about anything. If you could stand back and see what the billions of people on your planet today and all of those before have been living and therefore asking for, and you could view the vortex of mass consciousness, you would not worry about future experience. You would know the well-being, the utter well-being that is in place and coming even more into place. So here's this vortex of attraction, and it's huge. It is huge and powerful. And everything, all the things that you've asked for, the money, the clarity, the stability, the vitality, the harmony, all the things that you've been asking for from your discordant, comparative, contrasting experience, all of that is attracted. It's all there. It's all done. You know what's missing? You. Not always. But you are the only possible missing component. In other words, everything you want. You have created this expanded, ever amended version of you, which is vibrationally culminated at all times. And the power of law of attraction makes sure that that is so. But if you're over here saying, where is it? Then you're holding yourself vibrationally apart. And that tension of not going is what negative emotion is. When you're feeling joy, you're in the vortex. That's what that feeling of passion is. When you're feeling hope, you're close to the vortex. When you're frustrated, you're not in the vortex. When you're angry, you're not in the vortex. When you are feeling fear, you're really not in the vortex. In other words, you can tell by the way you feel what your proximity to this vortex is. And we want to say to you, if this vortex that is largely you were not spinning and attracting, then your not going wouldn't bother you. It's only bothering you because it is your creation and you're the only holdout. When you ask for improved life and the entire universe goes to work on creating an improved life, and you choose, instead of looking for positive aspects to beat the drum of what's gone wrong, you don't go to something that you've created, and that's why you feel worse. If you hadn't created the improvement to begin with, you wouldn't feel bad in the not joining the culmination of the improvement. So in very simple terms, we just have to say to you, when life causes you to be more, you've got to let yourself be it or you're not going to feel good. And many of you have already figured that out. You say, oh, I felt a lot better before I even wanted that. But now I want it and I don't have it. I feel awful. I feel better before I wanted it. And we say, you can't stop wanting. You've got to give that up. Some people say, oh, Abraham, wanting is not a good thing. Wanting and spirituality do not go together. Desire is not a good state of being. And in every case, when someone has brought that information to us from some body of work that they've been studying, we always say, and what do they tell you will happen to you if you give up your desire? And they say, we will then feel joy. And we say, is not joy desire? Is that not a desire? In other words, you cannot cease your desire, because the entire universe, this eternal universe, is established for the continuation of self. So contrast will always be part of your physical experience, and it will always cause you to expand. And when it does, it's a step 3 process. Contrast causes you to ask. You can't help it. That's step 1. Ask. Step 2, source answers. Source doesn't just answer what you've asked for. Source becomes the vibrational equivalent of what you've asked for and holds steadily to that concept eternally. When you ask, source becomes it and never stops standing in the vibrational place of it. Do you know that there is no slipping back from expansion? There is no regression. If life causes you or anyone, that's what the evolution of all species is about. If life causes you or anyone to ask for and then vibrationally become more, there is no slipping back from it. You can't say, oh, never mind. Oh, never mind. I'll take back the experience that caused me to desire this. You can't take it back. You lived it, you became it, the larger part of you is it, and now you have no choice if you are to be joyful other than to let yourself go with the flow of who you have become. And that really is what this art of allowing gathering is all about. It's about figuring out how, in my physical form, to find thoughts, more and more and more of them, that allow me more and more to get into the vortex of who I am. If we were standing in your physical shoes, we would say things like, I no longer want to be the only holdout in my creative picture. When I live in a house with not enough closets, I ask for more closets, and Source lines it up. When I live in a relationship where I'm not respected, I ask for more respect, and Source lines it up. When I work for an employer who doesn't know what they're doing, I ask for somebody who's more efficient, and Source lines it up. When I don't have something I want, I ask for it, and Source lines it up. Source is lining it up. Law of attraction is responding to it. Your creations are there. They are already in place. What are you doing about getting inside the vortex where that is? And we say, if you're looking for positive aspects, if you're getting on rampages of appreciation, if you're making lists of things you like, if you're playing wouldn't it be nice if you're playing isn't that a beautiful thing, if you're looking for reasons to feel good, if you're leaning toward optimism, then you're moving closer and closer to the vortex. And the closer you get vibrationally or attitudinally or emotionally to feeling good, what happens is the more you are then vibrationally in sync, and then you get full view of what it is you are wanting. You cannot receive apart from dominant vibrational patterns that are within you. We want reality as it stands to be less important to you because it's only the bouncing off place from where you're going. But when you let reality be everything, when you catalog it and pigeonhole it, when you make monuments about it, when you write historical documents about it, when you collect fact-based papers about it, when you continue to beat the drum of what is, even though what is has set up for you something so much more than what is, you reluctantly allow yourself to go to the new and improved version because you're so hung up on declaring the reality of what is. If we were standing in your physical shoes and somebody walked up to us and said, "Hi, how have you been?" we would say, "That is an irrelevant question." And if they said, "Well, just being friendly," "How are you?" that too is an irrelevant question. Well, what do you want me to ask? I want you to ask me where I'm going. I want you to ask me about my vibrational reality. Now, they would lock you up and put a straitjacket on you pretty soon. But we want that to be your attitude. How you've been doesn't matter. Hi, how have you been? Ooh, really engulfed in the magnificent contrast of my leading edge time-space reality. What in the world does that mean? It means that by knowing what I don't want, and boy, is there ever a lot of that, by knowing what I don't want, I have launched endless rockets about what I do want, and I have queued up a dramatic and dynamic and delicious future for myself. And they would say, "I did not understand a thing that you said." But we want you to know what you mean by that. In other words, how have you been? I've been sifting through contrast, and I've queued up a fabulous future experience. Well, what are you doing about that? Giving my undivided attention to my fabulous future experience. You mean you don't face reality? I face reality as little as possible. I look at the reality that pleases me most. I look at the reality that suits me best. Say to your friends, truly friend, I just mine reality for reasons to feel good. I don't face it anymore. Facing reality is like taking the good and the bad and the awful and the ugly, the wanted and the unwanted, and I don't face reality anymore. I just use it for thoughts of improvement. And if you will say that and mean that, if you will become a selective sifter, when you think about your past, if you'll selectively sift for the best feeling pieces of it, and when you look at your now reality, if you'll selectively sift for the best feeling pieces of it, as you look into your future, if you will selectively sift for the best feeling pieces of it, what you will begin to discover is you have a future that is already set up, and it is magnificent. And as you start tuning yourself more to the things that are already queued up for you in your vibrational escrow, you will be moving quickly to it, and life will be really fun along the way. It's really interesting to watch you. Sometimes you'll have an experience with someone. Often it's someone you live with, someone that you really did like a lot at one time. And you're having this sort of tumultuous experience with them. Maybe it's an employee-employer relationship. Maybe they have been and are your lover. Maybe it is a parent, child, or friend. But there's somebody who's just for quite a while just been bothering you a lot. You think about this person a lot because you're tied together. All kinds of things go on. And this person is a thorn in your side, you say. Just a constant burr under your saddle, a rock in your shoe. This person just drives you crazy. You wish they'd just fall in a hole, and that would be that. But they stay stuck to you like glue. You don't know why, and they're just irritating you beyond. So you're having this relationship with them, and most of you not realizing that every time it tugs and feels uncomfortable, that you are requesting an improvement. In fact, you are putting, without even knowing it, your version of them and you and your relationship in your vibrational escrow. When they don't understand you, you put a version of them in your vibrational escrow that does. When they are not kind to you, you put a kinder version of them in your vibrational escrow. When they don't watch what they're doing, you put a version of them in vibrational escrow that knows what they're doing. In other words, the more bumbling they are, the more magnificently you create them in your escrow. You can't help it. You create a version of everything that you are living in your vibrational escrow. All day, every day it happens. So, as you've been adding to your vibrational escrow, Source has been taking it in, becoming it, taking it in, becoming it. And Law of Attraction's been responding to that, and all circumstances and events have been amassing, coalescing for the creation of this new and better relationship. We're not kidding you. So if you could do as we were just encouraging you to do, if you could give your undivided attention to where you're going, if you could start playing the isn't it nice game, or the won't it be nice game, or isn't this a lovely thing, or look at these positive aspects, if you could start training yourself to be more of a match to what you're putting into your vibrational escrow, you'd feel wonderful and your relationship would be morphing into that. But most of you don't do that. Instead, you create this because of your experience with that, but then you give most of your attention to that. So here's the best way of saying this. This person harassed you into expansion. And now this same person is the reason you're not taking your expansion. No wonder you're so mad at them. If they hadn't harassed you to grow, so you want to say to them, look, you made me grow. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to expand. I didn't want to become more. You harassed me into expansion, and now your ineffectiveness keeps me from taking my expansion. And that's why I'm extra mad at you. Doesn't that define a lot of relationships you have? If it weren't for the contrast, you wouldn't have expanded, and if it weren't for the expansion, you wouldn't feel bad in not taking the expansion. And then, the amazing things you concoct to try to explain it, when there's really only one thing that explains it. You grew and you didn't go. Your inner being went that way and you stayed over here. And the funny thing about it, it's funny to us, not to you. The really interesting thing about it is, the more you don't go, the more you ask. And the more you ask, the more you grow. And the more you grow, the more you don't go. And the more you don't go, the more you ask. And the more you ask, the bigger the contrast feels. And the bigger the contrast feels, then the more you rebel, the more you blame, the more you criticize. You might as well give it up, because you can't stop expanding. You might as well just let go. Let go of the struggle. Let go of control. Let go of trying to get others to be better so that you can feel better. Let go of all of those reasons that you don't feel good. Let go of all of the conversation about, if you had done this differently, then I would feel better right now. Well, of course, if everyone held you as their only object of attention and their only goal was that you live happily ever after, we imagine your nest would be pretty feathered. But it's not going to happen, so give it up. All of you were born to feather your own nest. All of you were born to create a magnificent nest of creation and to move yourself into vibrational alignment with it. And we see you. If you think someone else is dabbling in your reality, you want them out. You don't want anybody creating in your reality.